Karen is not only a grandmother, very proud grandmother. She's a very dynamic woman. She has many facets. She's always got a little inkling to want to maybe travel and do a little bit more than what day-to-day working and family life give her, and I'm hoping that she gets that opportunity to do that. She's a very accomplished speaker. She is going to be competing tomorrow night at the contest, speech contest at the Zion Lutheran Church. I'll be there as, I think, a judge or something, so I will be there. A couple of other of our group will be there, so I invite anybody else to come as well. But this is our chance to give Karen just a little extra practice time. So I introduce our speaker tonight, Karen Yu.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Who is man's best friend? Well, we all know who man's best friend is, the dog. And 74% of the people in this country say that is so. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. Dogs and I, we don't see eye to eye. When a dog looks at me, he kind of looks at me a little uncertain, and when I look at them, I'm like a deer in the headlights, and I freeze. If I'm walking and I meet a friend, you know, with a dog, the dog's tail's usually wagging until he sees me, and it stops, and he looks at me, and I like to hightail it on to the other side of the road. Now, I think dogs are smart, they're faithful, and I think they're pretty cute. And I actually did own a dog. My husband bought a little German Shepherd puppy, and we named him Pro. He had long floppy ears and a big enormous nose and humongous feet. And when my husband and I would sit on the Chesterfield and watch TV, he'd get his huge nose in between us and hop in between us and cuddle up with my husband, and then he'd give me a hug. And I would move over to the other side of the Chesterfield. Now Pro, he got bigger and bigger until he was 125 pounds. And he still wanted to sneak in between us when we were watching TV, and suddenly he just like, whoa. And I moved to the far chair on the other side of the room. Now, Pro, he was like just like a big puppy, actually. He was very friendly. He would go pick up his ball and greet friends of ours and strangers and run along with his big doggy grin and slobbering, and yeah, but he was also very intimidating because he was very big and he was black all over and brown, on just a little bit of brown on his legs and on his nose. So, you know, I felt sorry for him. I was home a lot during the day, and I would play ball with him, but I always stood by the back door, threw the ball that way, just in case I had to hightail it inside. I'd give him little doggy treats. And then in 1978, we moved out to Aldergrove. Back then, it was kind of in the sticks. We bought 5 acres and dead end road. Trees surrounded 3 sides of us. And we had a long 400-foot driveway that led to our mobile home and a fence that we kept Pro behind. And my husband worked in Vancouver, and I had just had my first child. And it was pretty nerve-wracking when you'd see a car coming down the road, and all of a sudden they would start driving down our driveway. I'm thinking, this car shouldn't be coming down my driveway. I don't know who this is. And I used to get really, really nervous because I didn't know what they want, or were they lost or what. So I'd be peeking out the window watching them, and they might stop there for a few minutes and then turn around and drive away. Or sometimes they'd come halfway down and they would stop, and just sit there, and you'd be peeking out, just hoping everything was going to be all right. And sure enough, they would drive away. But then one day, a black, dusty car came down the driveway, and it kept on going down the driveway. And it stopped in front of the fence. And I peeked out the window, and a middle-aged, average-looking man got out of the driver's side and walked around to the passenger side and stood there looking around. Well, my heart started to pound. I was getting a little fearful, but I thought, well, I'd do what a mother bear would do. Go outside and face the danger to protect my cub. So I walked down the stairs, and I tried to keep it distant because I wasn't sure what he was up to. And he just kind of said hello and talked a bit about the weather, and I just stood there, and all of a sudden, Pro, he comes wandering off through the field with this big doggy grin on his face and his tongue hanging out and slobbering, and sits down in front of the man with the fence, behind the fence, and looks at him. And the man says, oh, that's a beautiful dog. Dogs really love me. And went in to pat him, and all of a sudden, Pro let out a vicious growl and started barking and leaped up on the fence, snarling and growling ferociously. And the man just looked at the dog, ran back into the driver's side, and took off. And I stood there, my eyes wide open, my jaw dropped, and I didn't know what happened. I do not know to this day what the man wanted, or who he was. And most of all, Pro, my protector. He came to my aid. He saved me from, maybe this man was going to do me harm, I don't know. But I think a bond between us came that day. So I went up to him and I patted him on the head and said, good dog, gave him some treats. Now that day, did Pro become my best friend? No. He became my hero.